Welcome to my story time by mybooksummary.com. Get ready for quick wisdom of countless stories and explore. Percy Jackson and the Olympians by Rick Riordan. Percy Jackson never fit in. He wasn't the kind of kid who aced his tests, made teachers smile, or won gold stars for good behavior. Instead, he was the type of kid who accidentally blew up a school bus, made water fountains soak the entire cafeteria, and somehow always found himself being chased by things that shouldn't exist. At just 12 years old, Percy had been expelled from every single school he had ever attended. He wasn't bad, at least not in the deliberate sense. But trouble followed him like a shadow that refused to let go. His teachers called him difficult. His stepfather, Smelly Gabe, called him worthless. His mom, Sally Jackson, though, called him special. And that meant everything to Percy. But special or not, Percy never imagined that he was the son of an actual Greek god. That was crazy talk. Or at least, it would have been, until one disastrous field trip turned his life upside down. Mrs. Dodds and the monster that shouldn't exist. It all started at the Metropolitan Museum of Art. The class trip should have been boring. Percy wasn't interested in looking at old statues of gods and monsters. He had enough of those in his nightmares. But when he accidentally drenched the school bully, Nancy Bobofit, in a fountain, things went from weird to absolutely insane. Mrs. Dodds, his scary math teacher, dragged him away, her eyes burning with fury. Percy thought he was about to get detention for life. Instead, he got something much worse. Because Mrs. Dodds wasn't a teacher at all. The moment they were alone, she transformed. Her skin withered into leathery wings. Her fingers stretched into claws as long as kitchen knives. Her voice became a horrible screech that sent chills down Percy's spine. "You have offended the gods," she hissed. Then she lunged. Percy barely had time to react before something hit his hand. A pen tossed by Mr. Brunner, his Latin teacher. "Use it," Mr. Brunner shouted. Percy, confused beyond words, clicked the pen, and suddenly, it wasn't a pen anymore. It was a sword. And somehow, without even thinking, Percy swung it and sliced straight through Mrs. Dodds. She exploded into golden dust. Percy stood there, breathless, staring at the place where his terrifying teacher had just been. But when he turned back to his classmates, he found them acting like nothing had happened. Even Grover, his best friend, looked confused when Percy asked him about Mrs. Dodds. "Who's Mrs. Dodds?" Grover asked innocently. Something was very, very wrong. The truth starts to unravel. After the museum incident, Percy couldn't shake the feeling that people were hiding things from him. Grover, for one, started acting strangely, always watching Percy a little too closely, getting nervous whenever someone mentioned the weather, and flinching every time a bird flew overhead. Then, Percy overheard Grover and Mr. Brunner whispering about him. "He's in danger. He doesn't know what he is yet. The summer solstice is coming." That was when Percy knew. His life was about to change forever. The Minotaur attack and a mother's sacrifice. Being kicked out of school again was nothing new for Percy. But this time, when he went home to his mom, Sally Jackson, she seemed more worried than usual. Sally was the best person in the world. She worked hard, never complained, and put up with Smelly Gabe, her horrible husband, just so Percy could have a roof over his head. But that night, she finally told Percy a secret she had kept his entire life. "You need to go somewhere safe, Percy." She tried to take him to a place called Camp Half-Blood, but they never made it. Because a minotaur, a half-man, half-bull beast, attacked them on the road. The creature was massive, at least 10 feet tall, with twisted horns and glowing red eyes. Percy and his mom ran for their lives. But the minotaur was too fast. With a terrible roar, it grabbed Sally and squeezed, and in an instant, she vanished in golden light. Percy lost it. Fueled by rage, grief, and something powerful inside him, he grabbed the minotaur's horn and stabbed it straight through the monster's heart. The beast crumbled into dust. But Percy collapsed, his last memory being Grover dragging him toward safety. Camp Half-Blood, where the weird becomes normal. When Percy woke up, he was somewhere new. Camp Half-Blood was nothing like the schools he had known. Instead of classrooms and lockers, there were cabins shaped like ancient Greek temples, kids sparring with swords, and, oh yeah, a centaur teaching Latin. It turned out that Grover was actually a satyr, sent to protect him. And Mr. Brunner? Not a regular teacher at all, but Chiron, the immortal centaur who had trained Greek heroes for centuries. Most importantly, Camp Half-Blood was a safe haven for demigods. kids like Percy, who were part mortal, part god. Here, Percy met Annabeth Chase, a brilliant, fierce daughter of Athena who looked at him like he was an idiot most of the time. And Luke Castellan, the charming, confident son of Hermes who seemed like the perfect older brother figure. But the biggest revelation came when Percy played capture the flag and got knocked into a river. The second he hit the water, everything changed. His wounds healed instantly. The river seemed to bend to his will. And most shocking of all, a massive trident symbol appeared in the sky. The gods had claimed him. Percy Jackson was the son of Poseidon. And that meant he was in a lot of trouble. A dangerous quest. Finding the lightning thief. Being Poseidon's son was a big deal. Mostly because Zeus, the king of the gods, thought Percy had stolen his master bolt, the most powerful weapon in the world. Now, Percy had 10 days to find it, or the gods would go to war. His journey took him across America, battling everything from Medusa in a roadside garden to escaping the deadly Lotus Casino, where time moved unnaturally fast. He fought a chimera on the St. Louis Arch, negotiated with Ares, and even ventured into the underworld, where he came face to face with Hades himself. But the real thief wasn't Percy. It was Luke Castellan. Luke had been working for Kronos, the Titan Lord, all along. And he wasn't just stealing the bolt. He was trying to bring down the gods themselves. Final battle. The hero who never wanted to be one. Percy had never asked to be a hero. But when Kronos finally rose, and the gods' greatest enemy prepared for war, he knew he had to fight. And fight he did. New York became a battlefield, and Percy led the final stand against Kronos. In the end, Luke, the very friend who betrayed them, made the ultimate sacrifice, choosing to destroy himself to stop Kronos. The war was over, but Percy knew his adventures were just beginning. Stay tuned for more enlightening content. Head over to www.mybooksummary.com. Don't forget to subscribe and share the magic with friends, and let's grow together through the power of books and interesting stories.